Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. On behalf of our director, Mr. Gary Gillette, and members of your Missoula City Band, Bill Roach here saying welcome to our penultimate, our second to last concert of the 2011 season. It's good to see you all here. My gosh, where has the time gone? I've got a note. If you are a former service member, when we play the Star Spangled Banner, they change the protocol. It's perfectly acceptable. You don't have to be in uniform to stand up and salute should you wish. So, ladies and gentlemen, would you please join us now as we salute our nation with the playing of our national anthem. Well, if we get notices there's a birthday, we like to play happy birthday to that person. And indeed, Mary Ann Henderson out in the audience. Where are you, Mary Ann? Oh, right there, right there. 39th anniversary of her birthday there. And let's do it, Mr. Gillette. Tonight we're honoring a departed bandsman, Hal Herbig, who passed on last November at age 85. Hal told me he started playing off and on with the city band since 1941 when he was 15 years old. He was able to play with us through the 2009 season. Oboist, saxophonist, high school and university teacher, the list of accomplishments is very lengthy, indicative of a full life in a highly successful career. We'll let some of our music do most of the talking tonight, and I think he'd like that. His wife Lois, son Doug, nephew Gary, I understand a brother, former students and innumerable friends are here with us to celebrate and remember a warm and remarkable man whose grace we note and whose grace note we miss. Well, we like to start our concerts off with a George Rosencrantz march. Now, I believe since 2002, almost every concert we have played a different work by George Rosencrantz. Tonight is the Navigator March. Now, this is rumored to be Hal's favorite Rosencrantz, written in 1916. The man who started that rumor is Gary. We have no basis in fact for it. But as always, we like to dedicate our Rosencrantz March. Now, I think I got a group of friends here from the job service. My coworkers are over there, they're making noise. Are they over in the corner? We told them to stay way out there. Indeed, I am very fortunate to work with such a great group of people. This is the Navigator March by George Rosencrantz. Well, our next number is a tribute to Glenn Miller. Hal loved jazz, and for the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and indeed, who doesn't? And helping with our tribute, I'm proud to introduce to you, now she sang earlier, she sang the Star Spangled Banner with us. This is Miss Mary Ann Meisner. Mary Ann started singing jazz at the American River College in Sacramento, California in 2005. She sang in her vocal jazz ensemble for 2 years. During that time, they recorded and released the Autumn Gold album and performed at the International Association for Jazz Education Conference in New York, New York. She also was a jazz vocalist around town, singing at cafes and restaurants in the Sacramento area. In 2009, she moved to Missoula to be close to her family, and she's now a student studying music education and special education at the University of Montana. Please welcome Mary Ann Meisner, our solo vocalist, with a tribute to Glenn Miller. Thank you, Mary Ann, and she'll be joining us later. She'll be finishing up our concert with us. Gary, I'm going to let you grab the microphone because you insisted.
Yes, indeed. There's a number of us that will just speak briefly to and about and for Hal and the family. This is my time. All of us that knew Hal knew of his great stories. And I think that many of the ones he told me were based in fact. At least I've always carried them with me. This one here took place at Casa Loma. And for those of us that are old enough to remember Casa Loma, I even instructed the band to drive by it. It still exists. It was a roadhouse out at the edge of town, way out by Sentinel High School. But it wasn't Sentinel High School in the fairgrounds, that was the airport. And right next to that was the Herbig family ranch. But that little brick building sitting on the corner of Bancroft and Stevens is still there. It's a warehouse now for Missoula County Schools. And Hal told me about being a youngster, to walk over from the farm and stick his head at the window at the bandstand. There are windows surrounding the bandstand, and they're still there. I've taken a couple groups of my jazz students from Sentinel High School. The first time I took Hal over with us, and he told the story himself. And he would nose in and listen to these cats playing. And it was all dance music, and it was a little bit raucous, and it was the wildest place in town. And there was a road band, and there were all road bands that played out there. Cats from all over the country that would come and do 1-2 night stands for gigs. And the band was busy playing, and a gal kept coming up and asking the band to play the Waltz You Saved for Me. Well, these cats were from the Midwest and the West Coast, and they were playing hardcore jazz, man. That's what they were doing. They weren't interested in playing a North Dakota waltz. Well, as the evening came on, she kept. This was no country dance, man. This was the Roadhouse at Casa Loma. As the evening wore on, she became more and more insistent, and maybe slightly affected by substances. Well, at the end, she got plumb downright obstinate about it. So the cat knew he had to give in to get this woman off his case. So he called the tune, and the band all groaned like, "Oh gosh, we're real jazz musicians. We're not playing that cheesy waltz stuff." He convinced them to do so. Right at that time, he turned around, kicked it off, and the gal went to the restroom. And for the Casa Loma, if I'm standing where the band director was, the Casa Loma was right over here, and he knew that if he didn't do something that he was going to end up having to play this cornbag waltz and never get credit for it. So the band kicked it off, he stepped off the bandstand, walked over, propped open the ladies' room door with his left foot and blew a chorus of The Waltz You Saved for Me in 4. Here's The Waltz You Saved for Me for Hal.
That's a good time to send our Band-Aid folks out amongst you folks. You're always so generous. Thank you in advance for your continued support of our efforts here. Now we've got Here's That Rainy Day. Family recalls Hal doing a gig at the Red Lion with legendary jazz pianist from Hamilton, Jeannie Roble. He had been playing his tenor sax all evening, but planned on doing this tune on his oboe. Fond, fond memories. Playing oboe is band member Rebecca Pursehouse. Rebecca was one of Gary's students at Sentinel. She survived that. She is now a senior at the University of Montana in music with an oboe major. Please welcome Rebecca Pursehouse playing that wonderful ballad, Here's That Rainy Day. Thanks, Rebecca. Many of you may remember Mitch Miller, Sing Along with Mitch. The oboe is a very difficult instrument to play. Very few people know that Mitch Miller was a master oboist. And, believe it or not, to show you, to demonstrate what a musician Hal Herbig was, he and Mitch Miller were classmates. They both got their master's degree in oboe at the same time at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. Quite an accomplishment. Now, I've heard Hal wasn't a real big fan of Dixieland, but he played it a lot because that was the venue around here and it was very popular. So we've got a Dixieland concerto. It's based on Jazz Me Blues, Ball and the Jack, and the original Dixieland one-step. There's some great solos in this arrangement. Listen for our band members: Bill Haffey on clarinet, Dean Pond tenor sax, Red Olson on trumpet, Don Gisselbeck on trombone, and Glenn Johntoy on the tuba. This is original Dixieland concerto. coming on stage now, we've got an original composition, classical guitarist. This is Hal Herbig's son, Doug. He's got an original song dedicated to his father called High Water. Now, while we're setting up, I do have a Hal story. He wasn't much of a joke man, but he had a great sense of humor. I remember the time when he said, Lawrence Welk, when he started out his TV show, was heavy into jazz, and he liked Duke Ellington. And there was a time when Hal said, there was a time Lawrence Welk would stumble over his English a lot, and he got up and announced the next song. He said, ladies and gentlemen, the next song is Duke Ellington's #1 hit, Take a Train. Instead of Take the A Train. Anyway, Hal said it better. Here we got Doug Herbig and his original composition for his dad, High Water. Thanks, Doug. Now we do have a tribute to the Count Basie. Got another story. Hal loved to tell the story of pianist Joe Bradford, a porter for the railroad. When he had to stay over in Missoula, Joe would play at a little club down on Front Street. Well, the story goes that Joe liked to sip his bourbon as he played into the night, and as folks would make requests for foxtrots, two-steps, and other music, Joe would get a little surly. Finally, he would announce, after too many requests, I don't care if you want to dance a two-step, a one-step, or a foxtrot. I'm just going to sit at this here piano and play fo-fo time. Fo-fo. We don't know whatever happened to Joe, but he lives on in Hal's story and memory. The last time the band played this arrangement, it was by Hal's request. Here's a tribute to Count Basie.
And a little fo-fo time for you. Fo-fo. Fo-fo.
Coming up next, it's my privilege. Let's start that again. Coming up next, it's my privilege to introduce Hal's nephew, Gary Herbig. Gary is a mesmerizing classical soloist on all woodwind instruments. He's a Billboard Top 10 jazz artist, internationally acclaimed recording artist. Gary Herbig has done it all. His resume includes tours with Harry James and Elvis, as well as the Tower of Power and Percy Faith Orchestra, just to name a few. His artistry has been heard on soundtracks of movies and TV shows, as well as recording of some of the most illustrious stars in the music industry. If you've heard the clarinet solo on the TV program Cheers, or the wailing sax on Roseanne, then you've probably already been treated to his musical talents. This is the real deal, folks. Gary was born and raised in Missoula and graduated from the university right here. He frequently comes back home from California to do workshops and sometimes, when we're lucky, play with a city band. Tonight he's playing the famous Harlem Nocturne by Earl Hagen. Although he can do the best Rodney Dangerfield impersonation I've ever heard, there's no question of our respect for Mr. Gary Herbig. Please welcome.
Thank you so much. How about a nice hand for Maestro Gary Gillette and this wonderful band. I want to thank you all very much for being here for our dear Uncle Harold's tribute. There's a lot of Herbigs here today. They came all the way from Florida, Connecticut, California, Oregon, and Washington. When Uncle Harold was at Hellgate High School, he played oboe with Alan Bazzuti's mother. A lot of people didn't know that Alan Bazzuti's mom, who's our terrific trumpet soloist from Missoula, was an oboist. When he went to Eastman, our dear Aunt Lois played piano and sang in restaurants to help put food on the table and get him to school. She's been with him all the way. And God bless you, Aunt Lois. She's right over there. Uncle Harold used to practice in the woodshed on the farm. And in the fall and winter, he'd wear an overcoat, gloves, and a hat. He was a very dedicated practicer. And musicians have a slang we say when we're going to practice, we're going to the woodshed, or we're woodshedding. He did it for real. With the help of our dear departed Roy Lyman, who sent him highly trained and disciplined musicians every year, Uncle Harold built one of the best high school orchestras in the whole country here in Missoula. It was incomparable. I was privileged to play at the All Northwest Convention in Portland, Oregon in '63. I was the first clarinetist, and they gave him a standing ovation. And his younger brother said that some of the teachers were so moved that the music teachers stood up on their seats and cried and applauded. That was the kind of communication that Uncle Harold was able to elicit with his orchestra. So he was my first woodwind teacher, and he was my hero and my role model. And I want to dedicate this song to him. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. God bless our dear Uncle Harold.
Just don't get much better than that, folks. Whoa! Good stuff. Thanks so much, Gary. It's always a pleasure. We're so fortunate to have you play with us. Well, we're at our final number for this evening. Thanks go out to our vocalist, Mary Ann Meisner, our oboist, Rebecca Purshouse, and our good friend, Gary Herbig. On behalf of Gary Gillette and the band, thanks for letting us share our music with you tonight, and we'll be to see you here next week for our final concert for 2011, where we'll be playing our old favorites and some requests. But now let's recall Mary Ann Meisner to help us with an Ellington portrait. He loved Duke Ellington's music, and it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing, was Hal Herbig's favorite saying. Here now, an Ellington portrait with Mary Ann Meisner. Good night, folks. Thanks so much.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you got to do is sing. It makes no difference if it's sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything you've got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got You ain't been blue. No, 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 no. You ain't been blue till you've had that mood in that feeling goes stealing down to my shoes while I sit inside blues. Night and stars above that shine so bright, the mystery of their fading light that shines upon our caravan. See upon your shoulder as we creep across the sand so I may keep this memory of our caravan. This is so exciting. You are so inviting, resting in my arms as I grow to the magic charms of you. Exactly here beneath the blue, my dream of love is coming true within our desert caravan.
Thanks so much, Marianne. Thanks so much. Here's the Herald. Thank you, folks. See you next week.